Hey, gang. Woo, are we good? Are we good? A little gaggy, a little. All right, there we go. Wasn't sure what was wrong with my YouTube there. It was a little glitchy. How's everybody doing? Let me get repositioned here. Got a new camera rig. The other one busted. So, so glad everyone's here, and we can hang out again. Do some more work on this X-Men group shot. We got Gambit and Rogue. We're going to do a twofer tonight. Two characters, one broadcast, and then we're just a few characters away from finishing. We might only have one or two more line art broadcasts before we go into the Copic. Take two. Copic color broadcasts. There'll probably be multiple broadcasts to get all this colored up, but hopefully we'll be able to tackle more than one character at a time in the Copic color. A lot of people ask, are you going to take it to color? Is it going to be in color? Is it going to be Copic color? Are you going to use the Copic markers for the color? The answer is yes. Yes, Copic sketch markers to come. But right now we got to finish the line art. Appreciate everyone coming in to join me and watch. Thanks for all your support. And if you're brand new to my YouTube channel, feel free to subscribe. It doesn't cost you anything to subscribe. Totally free. Just hit the subscribe button, then click on that little bell to adjust your notifications so that you can be notified anytime and every time I schedule a broadcast or post a new video so you don't miss anything. So, and to all my friends who are over on Instagram that I sent over here, welcome. So glad all you Instagrammers were able to come over here and join me here on my YouTube channel. So, enough jibba jabba. Let's get to drawing. I'm going to flip the camera around, start to work on Gambit and Rogue, and I'll do my best to answer questions or comments while I'm drawing. But as always, my focus goes into the art, so I don't catch every question, and I do apologize for that. But hopefully there'll be time at the end of the show. Maybe I can do a little Q&A if you're still with me here, and we can chat, and I can maybe answer some of the questions I might have missed. So everyone, I'm going to flip the camera around, and we can get cracking. Let's see, where's the flippy button? There it is. So now I just got to readjust the rig here for a moment. Pardon the jostling. Got to get in the right spot. Is that good? All right. This is the broadcast you want to see. You're glad you caught it live? Yes, a lot of Gambit and Rogue fans have been itching for this broadcast, and here it is. It's time. It's Gambit and Rogue Monday. So just get the camera in the right spot here. Gonna push in a little closer since we got little tiny figures now. We're moving further into the background, so we got smaller figures. Hopefully the camera's not too close to my art where I can't, yeah, I think I can, yeah, I can see. At least I can see the art and draw fairly normally. See, are we focused? Cool. So, I'm going to take the characters that I roughed in, their placement, and I'm going to just flesh them out here with my Uni Kuratoga, the Uni Kuratoga 0.3 lead HB lead pencil. Mechanical pencil, I should say. This has a 0.3 lead, has a really fine tip, fine lead nib, so it really allows for some teeny tiny fine detail. The lead can snap and break pretty easily, so it teaches you to develop a softer touch. Get the flow of the hair going. So I broke down the main big chunky shapes, and now I'm just putting in that detailed flow. He has brown hair, so we're gonna have some dark areas in the shadow part. Have I ever done a large mural style piece? I did murals back like in my high school days, art projects, things like that, but nothing really professionally. The closest thing I did do to a mural was back in season 8 of Extreme Makeover Home Edition. Do y'all remember that show? I think it's rerun on the ABC Family Channel or whatever that channel's called now. Pardon me. For season 8, the finale, season 8 finale, the kid was and his dad were big comic book fans, and so I was hired to do an Avengers mural, but I drew it all like on 11 by 17 artboards, the 4 different Avengers, and then the design team made it into big, like those fat head stickers sort of things. So they made them like these 9 foot tall stickers that went all across the one wall of the kid's bedroom. So essentially it was a mural, but I didn't paint the mural on the wall. They took my art and then had it printed into sheets that they could then adhere to the wall. So that's the closest thing I've done to a mural professionally. Why would I need a finer lead if I'm going to go over it anyways? So that I know the exact details that I want, so that I'm able to sculpt in the shape of the facial features will help my eye distinguish the details that I want. If I had too thick of a nib, it would be a more muddied mess, and it would be a bit too difficult to discern what um, what spots what were to be inked. So the finer nib allows me to get the finer details in, so that I can do the finer point inking. So I'm just setting myself up to win. Is essentially the need for a finer tipped pencil. See, so since I have 2 characters, oops, sorry gang, did not mean to bump the rig like that. My apologies. Kind of have to work in Gambit and Rogue simultaneously, depending on who's overlapping where and what. So she kind of overlaps his other side of his collar. Let's see, I think I saw some people asking about what comic book conventions I'm attending. My spring 2018 convention list is now up on toddnauck.com, and hopefully I'll be coming to a town in your area. If you don't see your town listed in my convention announcements, let your convention know you'd like to see me there as a guest. Feel free to send them a polite tweet or an email or a posting on their Facebook page or anything like that. Most conventions I've experienced, the really good ones, are very receptive to fan response, especially if you're polite about it, and they want to try to bring in the people you want to meet and see, the people that will bring you through the people will bring you through their doors for their convention. That's their goal. They want you to come in. So if enough of you say, hey, we want Todd at whichever convention is in your area, then they'll go, oh, sounds like we need Todd Nauck here. Or, pick your favorite writers and artists and, give them your wish list. So right now, I just finished Long Beach Comic Expo, which was this past weekend, which was a lot of fun. Thanks to everyone who came out to see me and my wife. And next up is Emerald City Comic Con in Seattle. This is my next convention. And that's just in a couple of weeks. All right, so we're gonna have Rogue pop in her collar. So I'm gonna have her hand holding her collar there. So this is a bit challenging here because we have these characters nestled so close together. But that's the fun of it. Even more so than Scott and Jean from the earlier broadcast. Her rolled up leather jacket. You got the green bodysuit sleeve right there. So they're starting to come together. You're starting to be able to see the details of the faces and the hair come together. And Gambit's overcoat. Hello, everyone. Hello. Sorry, I'm so focused on the artwork right now. A lot of little details here, so it really is taking a lot of my attention, but I do hope to get a chance to address more questions as we go. Let's see, I got his abs, that kind of weird belt thing, that kind of PVC piping looking belt, black pants, and let's see, then we have Rogue, she has that yellow stripe, green on this side. All right, and maybe we'll see a little bit of the X there. She has those little black stripes right up there. Lots of little details. And then let's see, I need my triangle to use my straight edge here for Gambit's staff. Okay, so I think I have enough details here that I can start in on inks. Man, her eyes are teeny tiny in this shot. His are too. Okay. Do I ever watch Bob Ross? Oh, yes. Yes, I have. Used to watch it back when I was a little kid. Summer between 7th and 8th grade. We're going to push in a little closer here for the inks. And I have been watching him on the Netflix now. So cool. They've got a couple of his collections on there. Love watching him create those still life paintings. Absolutely amazing. So I'm using the 01 micron, Pigma micron right now. Since we've got further characters in the back, I'm where I was using an 8 before for characters like, oh, bump the rig again, like Wolverine, nice thick lines for the foreground. Further we move in the background, the thinner the lines get. The thinner the lines get, the illusion of distance comes into play. Do not want the lines on Gambit to be as thick as the lines on Wolverine. It would not create the sense of depth that I want. This is where one of the ways line weights come into play. Thicker for the foreground, thinner as you move into the background, getting progressively thinner the further back you move. So I like to start with the foreground and work my way back. Because you can always make foreground lines thicker. You cannot make them thinner. Well, you can with whiteout, but then that can become a mess. It's easier to go thin and then go thick where you need to and realize, oh, you know what? That line should be a little thicker to really pump that object forward. Let's put a little shadow line right here. Just a little doubled up line right here. Give it a little sense of depth. So now it's just a matter of putting in the folds. What's the last non-superhero related piece of art that I did? Probably a Christmas card I made my wife over the holidays. The Christmas holidays. That definitely did not have a superhero on it. Had a bluebird on it. Where did I go to school? I went to the Art Institute of Dallas, Dallas, Texas, my home state. Studied commercial art and graphic design back in the 1990s before they had a video game course. So, commercial art and graphic design was the closest program that would lend itself to comic book art. I had life drawing classes, design classes, perspective classes. So, things I learned there, I was able to apply to comics. But they did not teach anything about comics. At the time, they were actually very against artists becoming comic book artists. They tried to dissuade me from being a comic book artist, but I could not be dissuaded. And then when they saw that I understood what comics were about and not just drawing cool pictures of Batman and Spider-Man, but actually telling a story and that it's a storytelling medium, they let me graduate with a comic book themed portfolio. That's the second exception they had made at the school at that time to allow a student to graduate with a comic book themed portfolio. So that was cool. But I had to stand my ground. Sorry that I've been missing people's questions. A lot of fine detail going on here. Really taking up all my focus. But I do appreciate everyone posting and commenting. Thank you so much for your support. Gambit's headgear. Get the hair going, that crazy Gambit hair. Graphic design classes did not help you back in the day. I'm sorry to hear that. Sorry to hear that. For those of you watching this broadcast after it's gone live and I was responding to someone's post, that was not my personal comment or experience. My graphic design classes did help me, but someone posted that they did not help them back in the day. Didn't want y'all to think, well, wait, Todd said they did help him, but they didn't help him. This is kind of fun with Rogue and Gambit so close to each other. All this big hair is kind of competing with each other. That's a lot of hair. That's a lot of 90s hair meeting up in one spot. It's probably why their relationship didn't work out. It's just too much hair getting in the way of young love. Probably the hair care products where those bills would put them out of house and home alone. Of course, they were living in the Xavier's mansion, so, you know, I'm sure that was rent free. So, why couldn't these two make it work? What are my thoughts on the X-Men movies? I enjoy them. I'd probably say First Class is my favorite. Um, but I'm looking forward to seeing what happens with the X-Men movies with the whole Disney Fox deal. I'm hoping they can get those X-Men characters over into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I really hope that's a plan for the not too distant future. So you see here, I'm always considering what is in the foreground and what is in the background. What things overlap, and I try to focus on doing whatever is in front and then inking the next thing, the thing that goes behind it later. So even though I was working on hair, I needed to flip over to her face here because she has hair that falls behind her face and behind this collar. So I keep in mind what is where so that I can make sure everything fits together as best as possible. And then his collar of his jacket would fall back behind her hair. So always keep that in mind, young artists. What's in the foreground? What is overlapping on your characters? What things fall behind other things? Tackle the things in front first. What is a perfect comic book art style in my opinion? That's the thing I love about comic book art styles is that they're so varied. I think I don't know if I'd say perfect, but the styles I think that are important are ones that can tell a story clearly, that have pleasing, for me personally, pleasing shapes to their figure work, their their layouts, their backgrounds, their details, and sometimes, but pleasing can be all sorts of things. It could be heavily rendered detailed. It can be very open, sparse detail. Simpler shapes. So it's just whatever catches my eye. So that's what I love, love, love about comics is that it's so diverse in styles. There's not just one style. There are, well, it's pretty much almost a different style for every comic book artist. Even though some may fall in a similar category, it's kind of like with music. There's certain genres of rock or pop, and certain artists sound like other artists in music, but they're still distinctively themselves. It's like, oh, well, these two artists sound kind of similar. They fall in kind of the same category, but I can tell, I can tell. I can't even think of two different artists that are similar. I can tell the difference between Kenny Loggins and Michael McDonald from. Sorry, I had to go back all the way to early '80s yacht rock, but that's what my wife's been listening to a lot lately. So that's it's the most recent stuff that's been in my head. Some classic stuff that we grew up with when we were little kids. We're '80s kids, much like Stranger Things. So, but back to my main point of all sorts of different styles make it fun. What sketchbook brands would I consider? I don't really use a lot of sketchbooks. I do my sketches on separate pieces of paper because it's easier to scan them. I do have sketchbooks that like I keep in my car in case I need to draw while I'm out and away or traveling or something like that. But I rarely get time to put stuff in those because I'm always working on projects and stuff. But I'm open to just about any sketchbook. If most sketchbooks at the art supply store are going to be good quality books. They're going to have good quality paper. So I like something that's kind of smooth for inking and coloring purposes with my markers. Um, and then I like a thicker textured material if I'm going to do watercolor. So that would be the things I consider when looking for a sketchbook. Let's see, what was that question about the X-Men? all the X-Men behind are rough sketches at the moment. Are you going to do more detail with pencil first and go straight to fine liner? Yes, yes, the same as I've done with every character on here. If you just tuned in to my broadcast, this has been a series, and in the very first episode, I laid out where all the characters are going to be. I did all the rough sketches for all the characters on here, and then since then, uh, each broadcast has been focusing on one or two characters at a time, where I do the tighter pencils and then the the finished inks. So like here with Gambit and Rogue, I took their rough sketch when they were like this earlier in the broadcast, which you might have missed, and I tightened up the detail with pencil, with my mechanical pencil, and now I'm coming in with the Copic or the Pigma Micron multiliner to do the finished ink detail. And in future broadcasts, I'll be inking Havoc, or penciling and inking Havoc, Psylocke, Polaris, and this was Rachel Summers, or Rachel Gray, but since when I first laid this out, I didn't know what era X-Men I'd be doing. When I realized I was going to do 90s X-Men, Rachel was kind of written out of the books by that point. So I need to take her out, and I'll probably put Strong Guy to go in with Havoc and Polaris for an X Factor um, contingent. No X Force, no X Force. A lot of people asked about, will Cable be in this? Not in this one. Maybe someday I'll do a separate 90s X Force group shot. But for this X-Men one, it's pretty much X-Men, Excalibur, and X Factor. So yes, every character will be fleshed out and tightened up, just not in this one broadcast. This is just strictly the Rogue Gambit broadcast. So you want to make sure you're subscribed to my channel here for when those future broadcasts, which I try to do at least once a week if I can, depending on my schedule, work deadlines, and travel. I try to do that once a week, and we'll hopefully get through these last few characters pretty soon, and then will be the color videos. As I mentioned on the top of the show, this will be going to full Copic color, and that will be a series of videos, and hopefully happen a little faster, or I'll get more work done per character in the color stage, more so than the inks have taken a bit longer than expected, but definitely been a good time. Oops, I'm sorry if I was a little off panel there. Just inking in the other side of Rogue's jacket buckle, her belt, her upper thigh there. Then we got Gambit's belt here. He's got his dark pants, that little pink stripe thing that goes down the side of his leg, the other side of the belt. His midriff there. So I'm just about done with all the body parts on Gambit and Rogue. Next up will be inking the details of their faces, and then they will be good to go. So let's see what we can do with Rogue here. It's going to take a lot of focus here. So tiny. There we go. Nice. There's Rogue. Let's see what we can do for Gambit. So they're so tiny, like their noses, I don't bother to draw in the bridge. That's just too much detail. So I just go for this nostrils, and the more detail of the bridge, the shadow of the bridge will come in the color stage, more so than in the line art stage. That would just be a little too much. Give him a smirky grin as well, and a little stubble on the chin. see, I got fill that in black, fill that in black. A little X here on her sleeve. What is my favorite Batman story? I really enjoyed, what was it called? Was it Fugitive? Batman Fugitive? Where he was framed for murder. It's kind of back in the early 2000s. I also enjoyed Hush. Hush was awesome as well. So I'm using a kneaded eraser here to pull up the pencil lines. Kind of helps keep the ink from fading, which can be a problem with multi-liners sometimes, depending on the cover stock or paper we're working on. So a kneaded eraser, you can sometimes just dab like that. Sometimes you can just rub it out. There we go. There we go, nice and clean. So two tiny little figures there. Let me go with a broader micron now, the 0.8. You can cover more space, so I wouldn't use my 0.1 to fill in this spot. So I'm just going to use a 0.8 here, broader tip, fill in the rest of his headgear. Drop in some little shadows there, little darker spots. Remember what I said earlier here in this episode is that if you ever need to go thicker, you can, but you can't go thinner without a lot of help. It's like getting a haircut, you know? They can always take more off, but they can't put it back on. And there we go. Gambit and Rogue joining the X-Men. Let's pull back so we can see more of the entirety of the piece that we're working on so far. That's a lot of X-Men so far, I gotta say. Let's actually clip from the rig here for a moment. Pull back. So that's almost done, gang. We started with laying everyone out, then moved on to do the line art for Wolverine, Nightcrawler, then up this way, then over this way, and now we're working our way up into that corner. This is how I'd do it if I were drawing it just, this was my job, like this was the assignment. This is the direction I would have gone if I weren't doing the broadcast. So next videos will be Havoc and Polaris, and this will end up becoming Strong Guy for X Factor, and then we'll have Ninja Psylocke right there. So I'm gonna flip the camera around and we'll do a little Q&A here, and I'll see if I can catch some of the questions I might have missed. So I'll try to scroll them back a little bit, see what kind of questions there are, as well as feel free to post your questions and I'll see what questions I'll be able to answer. Hey gang, how's it going? Thanks for the kind words, thanks for the compliments. I'm glad that you liked what you saw. Let me, pardon me, so sorry for the jostling. Let's see. Let's see, nose question. You see many artists do what I did with noses, mostly small parts like noses, tips, or long bridge line. But every time you draw noses, study noses, it looks like Dr. Seuss, Who Knows? Advice. A lot of that's just gonna, from my experience, so sorry, I'm still adjusting the rig there, is a lot of trial and error. Yeah, they look Dr. Seussy right now. That's totally understandable. Continue to look at real life. Continue to practice it. Continue to draw. Keep drawing those Dr. Seuss noses and keep refining it. It looks Dr. Seussy. Try slimming it down, shaving off some lines, erasing a little bit here and there, seeing how you can make it look less Dr. Seussy, which is a really strange adjective there. Dr. Seussy sounds like, I don't know, actually sounds like a doctor's name, Dr. Seussy. I went to see Dr. Seussy. Susie and the Banshees. So, yeah, I wish I had a better tip for you there. It's kind of hard. Me as a visual learner, I guess I'm more of a visual teacher. So if I could, if you're ever at a convention, bring your Dr. Susie noses by, and we'll see if I might be able to kind of help point out a tip there, seeing it visually. It's kind of hard to hear what your problem is and give an exact advice. But I would say keep drawing, keep practicing. Don't get too discouraged. Still trying to adjust this rig here. So there we go. So yeah, just keep at it. It's really keep persevering. Keep persevering. You can beat this challenge. You will get there. But you got to keep drawing. Got to keep trying. Keep studying. Don't let those Dr. Susie noses discourage you. Keep at it. So let's scroll back here, see if I can catch some questions. How do you know what details to leave out for smaller drawings? That's a good question. I would say I've been doing it so long. It's just kind of it's become muscle memory. I just kind of know. So for like it depends on how far back the character is as to I guess you want what are the key points? Eyes, mouth, ears, collar, gloves, the wrist, those sorts of details. You wouldn't put the little seam that runs down the side of the glove necessarily in a shot here on Gambit and Rogue. That's too small. It would muddy in the details. And a lot of that came with trial and error, which is I'm a big proponent of. Trial and error. You try, like Yoda said, failure is our best teacher. So you just kind of learn as you go. It's like, oh, that didn't work. And for the next time, don't do that again. So yeah, but it's really, what are the key points? Like when you're drawing Superman, S, belt, trunks, the cuff of his sleeve, the boots, and then you're out, spit curl, eyes, nose, mouth, and that because he's so far away. And maybe even less than that is what are the key points that are needed to let the viewer know this is what that character is or has or is using or is interacting with or is about them. Sometimes when we're drawing Spider-Man, he's way, way far off in the distance. We don't put all the webs on his costume because it's too small. It would muddy when it shrinks down for printing. And that's where our mindset is like this, what we're drawing at 11 by 17 will size down. So we have to keep in mind when it gets smaller, lines constrict, they contract, they tighten up. And if it's too much, it can get muddy. In the printing process, so we leave the costume webs off. You see the red, you see the blue, you see the black and white eyes. It's Spidey, and he's way off in the distance. Because if you took a photo of him way off in the distance, even with 20/20 vision, if he's way, way off in the distance and he's like this big in the distance, you're not going to see. Your eye is not going to discern the intricate webbing on his costume. So. And that can be a good resource too. Look at photo reference of what's way off in the background and what are the details you can make out. Those are the details you can get away with drawing. Do I have kids? And if so, do you try to